second. Can you see my screen?
It's coming.
Okay. And it's in a full screen, right?
Yeah, right now we have it.
Okay, so thank you very much, Marta, for the introduction. Today, we are organizing this webinar to provide information about what is InterConnect, what is the technical insights of the project, why we are organizing an open call for demonstration for energy applications. So Milenko will provide some information about the technical requirements, but also the common European reference framework for these energy saving applications. And by the end of the session, we will open a Q&A session. So you will be able to ask your questions and it will be answered online. So today with me will be Fabio Coelho, is a senior researcher in STEC, other partner in InterConnect project. Milenko Tosic, that is Chief Researcher Officer, so he will provide information about the energy saving applications and the technical requirements. And my colleague Marta, supporting us in the backstage and the Q&A session. My name is Rosa Villarón. I'm project manager in Funding Box. Funding Box is one of the 50 partners in InterConnect project and is responsible of managing the open calls. So before going to the more technical aspects, I will like to introduce a bit what is InterConnect. InterConnect stands for interoperable solutions connecting smart homes, buildings, and grids. It is an European funded project and is developing and demonstrating advanced solutions for connecting and covering digital homes and buildings with the electricity sector. The consortium, as I said before, involves 50 partners from 11 different countries. And it's these partners covering from IoT and energy domains, including industrial network organization, excellence centers, platform providers, and integrators. All of us are committed to develop semantically interoperable services and applications, mainly by adapting proven solutions to interoperability framework and guidelines to develop that will be developed by the project. InterConnect seeks to this is the summarize the outcomes that we will provide by the end after the implementation of the InterConnect project itself, is seeking to foster the digitalization of homes and buildings and also the electric grids. And it's based on the Internet of Things architecture and including digital technologies, as for example, artificial intelligence, blockchains, cloud, and big data, but based on open standards, as for example, Sareb. And this will guarantee the interoperability between the equipments and the systems, but also safeguarding the user data privacy and the cyber security. All these solutions are, all these interoperable solutions are being validated through a diverse of large-scale pilots in 7 European countries that will test these smart energy management solutions in their own facilities. Here you can see the map where these pilots are located, and in total of these pilots is involving more than 2,018 householders in non-residential and industrial facilities, 15 hotels, and more than 60 EV service points. Now I will give you, Vale, okay, sorry. And in order to expand the solution, but also the geographical coverage of the project, InterConnect launched 2 open calls. The first one was closed in 2022, so now the 10 selected projects are implementing the solutions within the pilot. So in the first open call, the prototypes open call, the selected companies work with the pilot, so they are testing the solution in the pilots. And for this second open call that is open now, we are looking for demonstrators of energy saving applications. The open call is open and will be open till 26th of June. Selected, I will, after my colleagues from the technical part explain how are the requirements and so on, I will go more in the detail what is the open call, but just in a nutshell, we are looking for 10 demonstrators that will join a 7-month support program, and they will receive up to 100K euros for developing, deploying, and testing these applications. Now I will give you the floor to Fabio. Fabio is with us. He will introduce what is InterConnect, more technical requirements, and after Fabio, Milenko go more in the detail what the specification, the technical specification of the energy application project. Milenko, sorry, Fabio. I will carry my stop sharing.
Fabio is not. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
So Fabio didn't receive invitation to the webinar, so please send it to him. So he was not added as a panelist currently. But
Marta,
in the meantime, I'm going to share my screen.
Marta, can you forward the link to Fabio?
Yes, 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 of course. Just give me a second.
You should be seeing my screen now.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Excellent. So let's wait a minute or two for Fabio to join. Otherwise, I can start, no worries.
I believe it will be better if you, Milenko, start, and after you there will be Fabio. Okay?
Of course, no worries. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Milenko from Visual Labs Foundation, and together with Fabio, I'm leading the process of specifying and developing the what we are calling in the InterConnect project the semantic interoperability framework. So it is a key exploitable result that allows us to build semantically interoperable ecosystems, and one of the main enablers of our pilots. And finally, this semantic interoperability framework is also used as a basis for the common European reference framework that is the building block of the energy apps and the demonstrators that is the topic of the open call and what we are doing in the project right now. So starting with the project overview, Ross already touched base on some of these aspects. Yeah, looks like Marta and Fabio still cannot enter for whatever reason.
Yes, I'm trying to send Fabio the link, but it's probably go to spam. If you are in contact with him, can you ask him to check spam, please?
Okay. So in the InterConnect project, Ross already covered who is participating, who are some of the key partners. And as I said, the goal is to enable large-scale demonstrations of cross-domain semantic interoperability between grid and smart buildings or IoT domain. We are validating this in large-scale pilots in Portugal, Greece, Italy, France, Germany, the Netherlands, and Belgium. And there is also one pilot we are calling overarching pilot that manages flexibility across most of these countries. So that is the overview of the project. Now we are going to touch base on the main missions of the project, as we like to call them. First of all, we have started not from scratch, but basically based on this European Commission mission to digitalize the energy system and also to bridge together the IoT and energy system towards managing and achieving even higher levels of energy efficiency and interoperability between different domains that are needed. So we have also drawn a lot of inspiration from some of the standards, being the FINE, FIWare project, S2, and most importantly, SAREF, a family of ontologies, from which we have also based our own InterConnect ontology for reaching semantic interoperability. The goal is really to demonstrate some of the innovative use cases that already started in previous smaller scale projects, but now on a larger scale, and also really benefiting from the achieved interoperability. I will mention this notion of semantic interoperability quite a lot, because that is one of the aspects and innovations of the project, reaching semantic interoperability on scale with quite flexible solutions. Speaking of which, the interoperability is based on SAREF inspired ontology, with certain extensions that we already made a standard. And we are basically pushing for this framework approach for interoperability without some centralized facilitator platform. Basically, we want for the interoperability to originate on the stakeholders and empowering their existing systems. Core technologies of the project, apart from the innovative services based on AI, from the IoT domain, also inspiring from the blockchain domain and distributed ledger technologies. We are certifying services that already have a good footprint in the energy and smart building domains, and now empowering them to really come together into what we are calling semantically interoperable ecosystems at different levels, either on the level of Europe, different countries, or some smaller scale pilots in the in different cities and campuses. These pilots are covering demand-side flexibility management, multi-utility, like the district heating and water heating management, electric vehicle charging management, energy communities, and the different cross-sector use cases spanning from comfort and convenience in the smart buildings, also including commercial and residential buildings, and bringing everything together through the interoperability framework. And open calls is something that Ross already mentioned. We already have finished, or basically the first open call is now being, the winners of the first open call are now realizing their solutions and joining our pilots. And now we are here for the second open call for the energy app demonstrators. Now we go into some of the details of the semantic interoperability framework. We want to put focus on this because this is the key enabler and one of the key components that participants of the open call should consider, because it's mandatory really to use these enablers to make your own systems, whether you are developing them from scratch for the purpose of the open call project, or really bringing something that already has some significant traction in the market. And with this set of enablers, you are able to achieve semantic interoperability and to expand your services to really be part of this knowledge pooling and knowledge sharing ecosystem that the InterConnect project is building. As you can see here, the goal is for the semantic interoperability framework. Again, we are constantly showing it as some centralized component, but it is not, again, it is not a platform where you are sending your data, where your data is remapped, repacked, and then sent through some unified interface. Yeah, we are providing a set of enablers that the service providers and integrators use, adapt to their own technologies, data models, and interfaces, and then based on that, reach semantic interoperability and be able to tap into these shared knowledge pools that are built within the project and that we want to promote to continue built after the project. And we think really that this initiative for Common European Reference Framework and the energy apps based on the semantic interoperability framework, among other technologies, will really allow this. Some of the key components of the semantic interoperability framework here in this animation, you can see, for example, two digital platforms. Let's say that digital platform A belongs to a grid operator or some stakeholder coming from the energy domain. The platform B can belong to an IoT provider, for example, for smart building systems. And all of them have already existing services that are providing some flexibility management, some automation processes on the building level, on the apartment level, and so on. These services have something that we usually call communication interfaces or APIs that can be based on different standards or completely custom and stakeholder specific. So it means that by nature, the interoperability, or in order for you to exchange information between different stakeholders, you really need to agree on a common interface and to remap the models. Here we come with what we are calling the service adapters, guiding, let's say, mapping of existing interfaces and data models to the ontology that we have built, and to unified interface for communication. And by being based on the standardized ontology like SAREF, and also semantic web ways of communication, we really can allow you different integrators by applying and taking this extra mile to make their interfaces and data model mapped onto the SAREF ontology and onto our interface and way of communication, to really be part of a really, really large ecosystem. As Rosa presented at the beginning, the project comprises 50 key stakeholders from the energy and smart building domains. So we are expanding with these open calls and building a really large, substantial ecosystem for new and future integrators to be part of. So we have the adapters. Service-specific adapter component is where all of these mapping between your existing interface and data model happens. The generic adapter is like the name says. It's a generic component exposing the common interface for the integrators to use, and also supports some additional tweaking and management of security procedures, selection, where and how you want to roll out. Are you going to be like completely open to everybody in the InterConnect ecosystem, or you really want to choose with whom and when you want to exchange the messages? At the heart of the semantic interoperability framework is the knowledge engine. Again, presented as a centralized component, but this is actually a communication middleware comprising distributed connectors that represent each of the services coming from the integrators as what we are calling knowledge bases, registering and exposing their knowledge interactions. All of this in semantic web way of thinking, basically creating knowledge graphs, knowledge representations, and registering the knowledge-related capabilities of your services to the wider ecosystem, basically advertising what you can do, how you can react on different knowledge interactions. Additional components of the interoperability framework are the service store. We are calling it as a front end of the whole system. It is also centralized registry of all interoperable services from within the project, from OpenCom partners and beyond. And it also provides some additional monitoring and security measures to be followed. And there is also one add-on component, which is optional, which is a peer-to-peer marketplace enablers. Based on blockchain technology, private permission blockchains, you can basically deploy on a community level, on a city level, or however you want to configure it, a peer-to-peer marketplace for energy, for IoT data, mix of them, and also represent them with certified smart contracts to a wider ecosystem, so that you can have like a self-sustained community doing peer-to-peer exchange, and also representing and being able to communicate with the wider set of services in the InterConnect semantically interoperable ecosystems. Another key exploitable result that we are also bringing to the project is providing, and that is part of the SERF and the energy app demonstrators, is the DSO interface. So DSO interface is something that our project level DSOs sit together and discuss how to basically, not to say expose, but bring some of their typical services to the wider semantically interoperable ecosystem by capitalizing on the InterConnect SIF, or the semantic interoperability framework. With this, DSO basically becomes an integral part of the cross-domain interoperability between other energy domain participants, market operators, retailers, and so on, aggregators, and so on, and the actual smart and the smart building domain, or this IoT domain where consumers usually reside and can operate. Here you can see like a high-level overview of all the key services that are exposed or made available in semantically interoperable way through the concept of DSO interface. Of course, it includes some security measures to authenticate and register resources, and then expose them to the wider pilots or integration points, so that information about smart metering, information coming from the end users about available flexibility, then signals from the grid can be exchanged in semantically interoperable level. If you are working with a DSO, if you are a DSO, for example, you can use the DSO interface component, again, that is developed and made available by the project, to really make some of the services that are key for the Common European Reference Framework for Energy and for the energy apps themselves, basically exposing these grid side signals and flexibility activation signals, as well as consumption level signals, in a way that you can and want to expose based on your business models, based on the way of work. So to recap, we have DSO interface and we have semantic interoperability framework that are two main components of the project made available to you as open call candidates to consider when shaping your applications, really because the usage of the semantic interoperability framework is actually mandatory for you. DSO interface depends, of course, on the configuration of your systems, whether you are DSO yourselves, or you're working with a DSO and want to bring them into the scope of the pilot that you're preparing. With that in mind, I will now go into the concept of Common European Reference Framework, and also the energy apps, or what the project is actually doing there. So in parallel with the execution of this open call, the project is actually developing MVPs and blueprints for the SERF, for this Common European Reference Framework, and some energy app demonstrators. This can be used as a basis for any subsequent developments. You will see that Commission is actually rolling out this in stages. First, to give some context about the Common European Reference Framework and the energy apps based on them. Basically, let's say that the overarching goal is to demonstrate that the European Union is really ready to capitalize on all the innovative technologies that different projects and innovative organizations have developed to actually battle and mitigate the risks and impacts of the energy crisis. Let's say pervasive goal here is that the end consumers should really be empowered to take active role in helping achieve energy efficiency based on different incentives. So it's not just that we are asking from them one-sided, but actually being capable to provide them different incentives to participate in this battle to really make Europe energy efficient and energy self-sufficient. The key technological advancements in reaching interoperability on different levels, like on the syntactic, semantic, business level, are the basis for really making this a possibility. And you will see that this first flavor of the Common European Reference Framework is actually drawing all the inspiration from InterConnect project and from our semantic interoperability framework and the DSO interface. So in a simplified sense, the goal is for grid to be able to communicate with the end users, supplying them with the grid needs, and also receiving the feedback on what was done on the user level to participate. In between, we have real flexibility to provide different kinds of incentive to make this really a reality. I will present now the two stages in which this Common European Reference Framework, or CERF, and the Energy Hub demonstrators are planned to be realized. All this is happening under the umbrella of EU Action Plan for digitalizing the energy system. And there are two important inputs that actually shape the direction of this process. First one being the ETRA report on energy platforms and consumer applications, what is currently available in the European landscape, and also work from the Smart Grid Task Force and their report on Common European Reference Framework for consumer applications. So this is the basis. And now we are starting here. Basically, the first stage is led by InterConnect project. At this stage, the CERF and the Energy Hub demonstrator should use publicly available data sources, some smart metering information in anonymized way, and also information that consumers are willing to supply through the app themselves. At this stage, mainly, there is this generic targeting of the end consumers. It is not expected to target individuals with like some customized recommendations and so on, but really to target areas like zip codes or even the whole countries and balancing areas, zones, as they would call them, with common recommendations. So basically, at the core are these recommender services that provide general consumption schedules and different eco tips guiding users to better use their energy. The intervention on the receiver end or from the consumers is expected at this moment to be manual most, and also manually providing the feedback what actually happened. So this is the expectation. Of course, in the scope of the open call applications and in the scope of the InterConnect project, we can take it extra mile really to automate some of these processes and really prepare good basis for the second stage. The main building components are, as I said at the beginning, the InterConnect semantic interoperability framework and DSO interface, and also additional collection of interoperable services that the project has delivered. In the first stage, basically concluding this upper part of the image, the goal is to demonstrate the CERF and the energy apps in 10 member states. And the project is actually already staging the pilots for the energy apps in Portugal, Italy, Netherlands, and Greece. And this is the reason that some of the countries are actually excluded from the open call process. And in the next stage, as you can see here, starting from the next year, the goal is actually to make the process a bit more smarter, in a sense that whatever can be prepared and actually targeting individual users with some customized personalized specifications and recommendations and eco tips, and also being able to automate the process of executing on these recommendations, like through the energy management system, smart appliances, and so on. And finally, supplying the feedback through smart metering, through consumption monitoring in a more automatic way, so that this is actually brought in a much more automated way and requires a lot less of manual interventions. To recap, the goal is to enable EU member states to be better prepared for energy crisis, to manage energy supply stability by empowering consumers, and all this using innovative technology supplied by the project and organization. Basically, from the InterConnect, we are providing the interoperability framework and the DSO interface. With these tools, the key stakeholders can exchange knowledge in semantically interoperable manner and build energy apps using common enablers to drastically speed up this process of really rolling out new consumer-facing services. InterConnect our approach goes towards building the SERF, a semantically interoperable ecosystem of key stakeholders. On one side, we have public data sources like ENSUI Transparency Portal, for example, and different regional country-specific data sources. We also include grid system operators through DSO interface and additional service adapters. From there, we get data and grid signals that are fed into the recommender system. The data flow is facilitated through the semantic interoperability framework, and the interoperable recommender service provide day-ahead consumption plans and recommendations for the consumers, as well as standardized eco tips. The consumption plans guide basically consumers to have the most significant impact with their actions onto the grid stability, onto the energy system stability themselves. And all these signals and recommendations are supplied through the mobile application. So this is our first approach. We are currently rolling out and developing different enablers, putting things together in these 4 pilots. And all of this know-how from our side is going to be available for the open call partners to expand on in their own countries and domains where they operate. Let's say first, we start with what we call the mandatory energy app system configuration, comprising 2 main services, one being the grid service capable of providing grid signals to guide consumers and their consumption, and services that interface directly with the users, and this can be either the energy app backend and frontend or different recommendation services. Next, we add more types of services to the mixture, like the service for the from the energy market and retailers, energy management systems for automating the process of acting on the recommendations and grid signals. This can be on the home, building, community level, and finally, energy consumption monitoring and profiling services. The goal is actually to create the ecosystem where these services can be chained in custom manner for each instance of SERF, or this Common European Reference Framework, and the energy app offering. This allows creation of highly customized and specialized energy apps with the same building blocks and capitalizing on the same interoperable data exchange facilitated through the SIF and the SERF. So from the get-go to the finish line, first thing first, when we finalize all the components, test them internally within the project, they will be available for future integrators to deploy energy apps and SERF instances in their own regions, cities, communities. So first, deploy the SERF, or the Common European Reference Framework, based on our interoperability framework. Onboarding service providers and stakeholders, basically certifying their service offerings with service adapters. Integrate additional open data sources wherever available. So capital is really on all those data sources that are made available and composed on the level of countries and regions. Either replicate some pre-built and existing recommender systems, or build your own. This is where really the innovation can come from. You can also deploy the base blueprint or setup of the application backend and frontend coming from the InterConnect project, or supplied by other integrators. So you want to build really the ecosystem where these different builds and different instances that are validated can be made available for any future integrator, really creating a vibrant, let's call it, energy app sharing community where everybody can benefit from what other stakeholders and integrators already achieved. Of course, deploying custom front end. This is where we think really that those organizations that are working with the consumers, with the end users, can really be super innovative to provide innovative ways of communicating the recommendations and signals to the end consumers, collecting their feedback, guiding them through the process in some end user engaging way. And yeah, we want to scale SERF and through it also to scale the InterConnect semantic interoperability framework, make it a go-to solution for really enabling and facilitating exchange of information within the energy domain and between energy and all the other crucial domains that can help reach the energy system stability and efficiency. So our approach to demonstrate the common experience reference framework with, let's say, some white labeled application that is going to be demonstrated and validated in the 4 pilots that we are working on in the scope of this development in the InterConnect project. First, we have the onboarding process where users provide, for example, access to their location or specify their location, like indicating a zip code or market they belong to. Next, there is a setup wizard with different steps where we collect this voluntarily provided information from the end users, helping us really to shape some profiles of energy consumption, basically to profiling energy consumptions of the user so that some recommendations can actually be adapted, not just a generic, like for Italy, we have one recommendation, but actually for electric vehicle owners in Italy or something like that, or per country, or per city, or per zip code level. The application then can provide some daily or even more frequent eco tips, keeping users engaged and basically educating them how about different ways to save energy. The main functionality is actually this screen that we are calling the day ahead hourly consumption recommendation schedule that the energy app receives. So basically, this is the output of the recommender service in center of everything that is on one side taking the information from the grid and grid needs for the next day, including all the necessary consumption patterns, the things that are learned from previous period, the planned maintenances and stuff like that. All of this is presented to the end users. This is really an early mockup, so this will evolve and you will see probably much better looking application in near future coming from us. So end users can choose to follow this schedule, and for now we expect them to manually provide some kind of feedback like, yeah, I am adhering to this schedule and recommendation, or I did this and this. So we are still tweaking this process of collecting the feedback from the end users. Yeah, the energy app backend and front end that we are building. This is where the main innovation is actually coming from, for example, open call applicants, because this is where you can actually shape different ways of communicating and engaging end users, providing them with added value. And also on the energy app backend, you can run custom recommender systems, notification systems, and so on. We can always rely on the blueprints and the developments from the project as a starting point to speed up the process. Actually, some of the, let's say, base work can already be done so that it can actually focus on the innovation and engaging your consumers with whom you already have a way of working and you know their needs and how to engage them. That's it from my side. Again, to recap, introduction about the main components from the InterConnect project, the semantic interoperability framework and the DSO interface. These are made available to you as participants in the open call. then we also provided some information about how the Common European Reference Framework for Energy came to be, what is expected from the energy apps, how the InterConnect project at the moment, basically in parallel with this open call, what we are developing and validating in the 4 pilots in Greece, Portugal, Italy, and the Netherlands. And all of this know-how that we are building right now and coming from the project, from previous experience and our large-scale pilots, is at your disposal to use in executing your open call projects. That's it from my side.
Thank you, Milenko, very much for this presentation. And we already have 2 technical questions. The first, I copied it from the private messages to chat. Feel free to also write on chat, please, so everybody can see it. And Milenko, the first question is from Alba Rosado. Is the generic adapter a RESTful API MQTT based?
Sorry, let me unmute myself.
Milenko, we can also see the question on our chat.
Let me just expand the meeting. Sorry. It is not MQTT based, but it can, let's say, mimic this kind of publish-subscribe communication. So it is using at the moment, not at the moment, but basically semantic interoperability framework is using REST API to exchange information and to exchange these graph patterns in a specific way with the interactions that we are calling the knowledge interactions, posting and reacting on these knowledge interactions and actions. So you can get familiar with all the information in the guide for applicant. You have link for our public wiki page, and there is all the necessary technical information about the interfaces, the ontology that we are using, how this serialization process looks like, and what is expected from US participants. So what you will do as part of this serialization process. Yeah, there is a lot of know-how coming from the project. So we did this painful, let's say, work of actually learning how to do it in a best and most efficient way. And finally, we have a lot to share with you guys how to do it really efficiently and reach the semantic interoperability using Saref-based ontology.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Milenko. And also the other question from Daniel. Do you have measured consumption?
I mean, within the InterConnect, yes, there in different pilots, different partners are actually accessing the smart metering data and being able to profile the consumption and so on. If you're talking about the open call and the Common European Reference Framework and the energy apps, as I said, let me just quickly, sorry for these animations. In this first stage, yeah, if there is if you guys are that they're applying, if you're bringing and able to bring information from consumers, of course, we expect to fully follow the privacy protection regulations, but nevertheless, the metering or measuring the consumption can come either from the DSO side and then exposed through the DSO interface, or with some other, let's say, platforms in between consumers and the grid. But yeah, for now, this consumption measurement is not like a critical component. It's nice to have. It's really good to have, but it's not make it or break it for the first implementation of the Common European Reference Framework. So as you can see here, the focus is on the public data. And if there is really smart metering data in an anonymous way, so basically not matching the smart metering data with any consumer, really to measure their actions. So we are collecting feedback in a manual way, but at some further stages, this is expected actually to being able to collect feedback and consumption information directly from the consumers and see how they acted on the made recommendations.
And one more from Alba: is there information available from the grid status in all regions?
Yeah, for example, there are some public data sets that can supply information about grid status, aggregated grid on the TSO level. For example, this is the NSOE transparency platform. Probably most of you have heard of it. And this is the first stop for us. You can see it here also. NSOE transparency platform from which we want to get, this is publicly available information. And here you can see the information about consumptions, balances, and so on level of all European countries. So this is one source of information. The other one would be actually to involve TSO or even better DSO for a final granularity view of the consumption per region, per city or zip code.
And thank you, Milenko. And also Daniel elaborated a little bit more in the private chat about his question. Daniel, please feel free to use the chat so all we can see your message. And he's telling that they are asking this because they think about an application using such data to provide forecast of consumptions. This is the elaboration of his question. And I believe, sorry, Milenko, yeah.
No, that is a good approach. So again, as much granularity you can get about the consumption, about the grid needs, the better the actual recommendation and more impactful it can be. So it's one thing to make a recommendation on a country level, but it's much better if you actually make some recommendation on a zip code or ultimately individual user level for them to adapt and to actually have the most meaningful impact on the stability of the grid.
For now, I don't see any more technical questions about the project, so maybe this is your time, Rosa, to elaborate a little bit more about the open code that we have opened right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Marta. I will share my screen. Sorry. Can you see my screen?
We see that it's coming, so it will be visible in a second, I believe.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, but I have just 1 second. Wait. Okay. Thank you very much, Milenko, for all this technical information. So now I will try to provide information about how the selection and the evaluation and the application, the selection and the evaluation process will be done. As Milenko explained, the aim of this open call is develop, deploy, and test energy applications that can help to mitigate the current crisis by enhancing the grid stability, reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, and lowering energy costs for European consumers. The InterConnect project is looking for highly motivated and skilled candidates that are able to engage with an ecosystem. So an ecosystem of grid stakeholders and consumers. And the idea is they should be able to demonstrate that the ability to contribute to the grid stability, resilience, and supporting the energy efficiency and cost reduction. For this open call, we are looking for the eligibility entities that can apply are SME, mid-caps, and large companies. So almost all private companies types in Europe. These companies should be registered in one European member state, 27, and also United Kingdom are eligible to apply. But to demonstrate to demonstrate the application only in the countries that you see in this table. As Milenko said, the project, InterConnect project, is already established in use case in Portugal, the Netherlands, Italy, and Greece. So project demonstrators in these countries are excluded to receive funds. So your company can be registered in Netherlands and is eligible, and can implement or deploy the solution in a different country, for example, Austria, so it's eligible to receive funds. But if the demonstration is in these 4 countries, you are excluded for this open call. And important thing, we after the selection, so if you pass all the evaluation and selection process, we will select only one proposal per country, for eligible country. About the benefits, successful applicants will be received up to 100K equity-free funding, along with the access, as was explaining Milenko, the SERF and energy application architecture, but also a customized technical and business support for help you in further developments of the energy applications. Participants will receive full technical assistance in adopting this InterConnect semantic interoperability framework. And the support program is divided in 3 main stages. I will go back to this later. What type of proposal, or what is our ideal proposals? What these applications or your proposal should tackle? Should support exchange grid data, ensuring greater system resilience, establishment of a user interface, such, for example, a mobile application, I was showing Milenko, that effectively deliver advice or instructions to reduce or defer the energy consumption, collection of the feedback on the adoption of the recommendations or advice and tips that impact in the energy use, and somehow providing added value to both sides, consumers and the grid. To support the adoption of the interoperable data exchange, enabling data needs across member states, and should support the blueprint from the SERF established by the InterConnect project. How to apply? The application is made online through a Funding Box platform. So the whole process from the submission to evaluation will be made through this platform. So when you click or visit the Open Call website, you will be you will find the application form that you should fill in and submit before the deadline. How you say, the platform is quite intuitive. You can save and draft, so you can draft and save the content of your proposal. You can add a contributor, so more than one people can help you or can write or provide information in the online application. It is possible to submit the application and still editing. So we encourage you to apply as soon as the application is ready before the deadline, and before the deadline you will be able to edit and update the content there. So please don't wait the last moment to avoid technical problems and not desired situations. Once you submit your application, you will not be able to remove it. So once the application is submitted in the portal, it is not possible to remove the application there, but no. And you can also export your application in a PDF document for your reference. This is this is how the application form looks like. It's divided in 7 sections. The basic information and legal information. The first one is allow us to contact you. So it's a very basic data you have to provide, your name and company name, and also your email. It's important to, you can also, and it's not mandatory, but we recommend to include a phone number, because not always the email is the fast communication tool. So if something happens, have your phone number allow us to have this fast contact with you. Legal information is information about the type, the form of your company, and will allow us, if when the selection process is done, to at the end of the whole process, I will go in detail later, we carry out what we call a formal check. So we need to confirm that the legal form of your company is allow you to sign the agreement with us. So providing this legal information during the application stage will allow us to request the specific formal and financial information to run this legal formal check during the grant agreement preparation. Then we have the three main sections, that is excellent, impact, and implementation. These are the score criteria. For each of these sections, there are different specific questions. For example, in excellent, you have to provide a functional and technical description of your project. Evaluation will pay attention on the ambition, on the differentiation of it, and it's very important to provide a technology description architecture. So you have to upload a document with the components of the InterConnect semantic or interoperability framework that you will use in your project. And this is very important because we allow to the experts and also the consortium to understand how you will use this CIF framework. Each section has a limited number of characters, so please be concise. You need to explain in detail your project, but having in mind that you have this limitation. In the impact score, you have to show or explain the market potential, the business model, and the commercial strategy, as we will use after the implementation of the application, the project. And in the implementation, you should demonstrate your technical competencies and your ability to take the project ideas to the market. It is very important, the description of the team that will work with us during the implementation phase. Then the declaration of honor is a list of questions that you must confirm. For example, that you are not in bankrupt, more legal and financial questions. So it's a list of the items that you have to tick. And at the end, the processing of personal data. So what happened after the submission is when we start the selection and evaluation process. In this picture, you can see this is an overview of the evaluation and selection process, consists in three main stages: eligibility, external evaluation, and consensus meeting. In the eligibility, that is right, we run this, we carry out this eligibility first check the day after the submission deadline, and we will check that the proposal is complete, that is readable, that is in English in all the mandatory fields. This is very important because only proposals in English can be evaluated. That was submitted by the online platform and in the deadline, and you should include, and it's very important, the proper declaration of honor. It's worth to mention that if more than 15 eligible proposals are received, we will run automatic pre-scoring that we will pre-select up to 50 proposals. That only these 50 eligible proposal will pass to the next stage. This pre-scoring is using three criteria, that is the number of consumers that your project is engaged with, the liaison with DSOs, and also the years of experience that your company has in the energy sector. These eligible proposals move to the next stage, that is the external evaluation. Each project will be evaluated by 3 independent evaluators. These are experts specialized in the energy sector and ICT fields. The criteria, as said before, used to score your proposal will be the excellent impact and implementation section of the application form. There are some thresholds that your proposal must reach to move to the next stage. There are 2 main thresholds. First, for each of the individual criteria, excellent impact at evaluation that will be scored 0 to 5. The proposal has to reach at least 3 in each individual criteria. And then for the sum of the 3 criteria, the proposal has to reach 10 points. Once all the proposal were scored, we will prepare a ranking list of these proposals and the consensus meeting, and we will move to the consensus meeting stage, and is where the selection committee that is made by key partners in InterConnect, technical and also from the business side, as is Funding Box, will decide by consensus what will be the list of finalists that will be invited to the grant agreement preparation. The discussions of this selection committee will be based on the ranking obtained or the results from the external evaluation. So the receiving proposal will be ranked, and the selection committee will select the best proposals and will be made until the received proposal will be ranked, and the selection of the best proposal will be made until 10 proposals from different countries is reached. I mean, we will have the list of finalists. So the selection committee will start discussion from the best ranked till the end, selecting 1 per each eligible country, different country. Once we have the final list of the 10 finalists, they will be invited to the grant agreement preparation that concerns 2 main parts, that is the formal check. So depending on the type of entity, the form of entity, you will be requested to send some legal and financial information. So we will review these documentations and validate your entity as potential, as able to sign the agreement. And the last stage, the grant agreement signature, we will send the SGA signed by the consortium side to sign. The sub-grant agreement is not yet in the open call site, but will be uploaded in 1 week. So you will be able to have the draft of this agreement before the end of the open call. So the entities that sign this agreement will be invited to join the support program. As I said before, it's divided in three stages. During the first stage, we will start with a welcome event. So we will explain the whole process, the milestone, the documents that need to be prepared, and how we will run the milestone evaluation. So right after the signature of the agreement, all the 10 selected projects will be invited to this welcome event. And during this welcome event, we will also prepare the matchmaking with your mentors, technical and business mentors. So the support program is split in three stages. The first stage that lasts 1 month is when you will have 1 month to prepare the specifications and development plan, and you will receive once this plan is approved by your mentors and the selection committee, you will receive up to 10K. And the approval plans will be invited for a selection day, because this support program is a funnel process. So we'll start with 10 projects, but we will select for further development and to join the whole support program only the seven best projects in class. All the details about this selection are in the guide for applicants, but will be explained also during the welcome event. And these 7 projects will move to the support program, the full support program, and they will have 6 months for develop, deploy, and test the project. This is a summary of how the process, the application process look like, and the evaluation and the selection. You can contact through 2 main tools, and this is the InterConnect community. We have a help desk in a specific space for a help desk in the community, so you can ask your questions in the community, but you can also receive information about the project and webinars and other useful materials that can help you to create your proposal. And the other way that you can contact us is through the help desk email that is here, interconnect.help@fundingbox.com. So any question, any doubt, or whatever need to help you to prepare your proposal, please contact us. But one and it's very important thing, you have the guide for applicants. The guide for applicants is a legal binding document where all the information about the eligibility, technical requirements are there. So please read the guide for applicants, and if you have questions on it, please contact us through the help desk in the community or the email here. Now I'm finished from my side. Time for questions.
Thank you, Rosa. So I saw there are some questions on chat that Milenko already answered. These were not connected to the technical part, but there are also, for now, I see 2 questions for you. One about the application form, about the number of characters that can be used. There is a question that there is no indication of the limits of characters at every section. So how do they get it? The question is, how do we get it? I believe the question is about how long can each section be. You are muted. You're muted.
Sorry. When you enter in the application form, there are the part where you have to add the text, the content, and at the beginning you have the limit of characters for each of these sections. You have an explanation what you should, the information that you should provide in all of these boxes, text box, and at the beginning of each of them has the number of characters is there.
Okay, and another project is about if the projects can be collaborative.
Means submission by a consortium? Or
Yes.
No, we are only looking for not for individuals, for companies, but the application is for just one company. There are not room for more than one entity in the form.
Okay, do we have any more questions about the technical part of the project, about the application to the open call?
Sorry, Mark.
Okay.
Just one thought that came to my mind regarding the limit of characters. It's true that in the moment that you start to writing the text in the box, the explanation information disappears. So what we can do, we will provide in the microsite. We have a section that is read first, where the guide for applicant is available. We will provide the application form in a PDF, so you will have always a document that you can refer to check the number of characters. Maybe they can help to guide the people during the content writing.
Okay, Kostas wants to ask to himself the question. So Kostas, I'm giving you the permission in the Zoom that you can speak out loud.
Yes, hello. Actually, I have a couple of questions. We are a Greek company, but our demonstration is going to happen in Croatia. We are in collaboration with an operator of a charging network in Croatia. So is this eligible?
Yes, it's eligible because Greece as registered, where your company registered is eligible, and Croatia is one of the demonstrators countries.
Okay. Now, regarding the grid, let's say, requirement, is there, do you consider that electric vehicle charging network is eligible to be, let's say, the grid part of our proposal?
Maybe Milenko, can you help me with this question?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe also my 2 cents. Again, since this Common European Reference Framework for Energy and the Energy Apps movement, let's call it like that, coming from the Commission, it's something that is going to be expanded in the years to come. So with this open call and what we are doing in this first stage, I would say that this is a good opportunity really to jump to this trend, to this new reality of the energy system quite early, be early adopter, and really engage the end consumers as early as possible. The requirements, okay, the main, let's say, firm requirements from the open call is that the semantic interoperability needs to be achieved by using the interoperability framework. There are also these requirements for TRL levels and stuff like that. Everything else is like a recommendation, because if you want to create an impactful pilot as part of your application, don't, of course, it's always good to showcase this direction where you are taking the pilot, expanding your service offering in this context of Common European Reference Framework. You can see it as like one giant cloud of interoperable information where you can tap into, get the information that you want to present to your consumers, to your end users, actually, whatever they are consuming, and shape this signal, this recommendation in a way that you know that the consumers are going to react to, that they are going to be engaged. What we are proposing and showing here, it is just the first stage. We have, for example, a DSO preparing grid signals, and we recommend like how to organize your consumption as the end consumer for the next day. So, for example, at some point today, you receive like the consumption schedule or the recommendation on how to consume and when to avoid consuming for the next day, so that you can organize. This is just a starting point. You can see that you guys have probably much more information and vision how you want to engage the end consumers, how you want to start and then expand. So I would say that this is a great opportunity for everybody from the energy domain, from anybody from these cross-domain challenges, and from IoT domain as well, smart grid, smart buildings, and so on, electric vehicle charging solutions, really to start, benefit from all the experience coming from the InterConnect project, from the mentors, from the tools that we are supplying, and be some of the first adopters of the Common European Reference Framework, and really pioneers that will definitely improve, let's say, this scalability of all your solutions. So you're starting probably small scale, and then by being part of SURF, you can scale on the Europe level and really make a great impact. So when we are talking about bringing your DSOs, for example, it's good. Okay, there's no possibility to apply like a consortium, and with this budget that is provided, this is just an incentive to kickstart the work. But the vision should actually be you are building the ecosystem where new services after this 7-month period can definitely continue to be added, and you can continue to scale. So if you already partner in any way with a DSO, this is a great point, because let's be honest, information and grid status information coming from DSOs is the best granularity for actually making an impactful decisions. But nevertheless, there are other open data sources, like I mentioned, N3 transparency platform. Research what is available on the level of your countries, or additional information that you want to use. For example, also quite valid information is about these electric vehicle charging stations and how they relate and can relate to the grid stability, because that is a really big potential, of course. This is some closing remark from my side.
Thank you, Milenko. Thank you, Kostas, for your insightful questions. Do you have anything else that you would like to ask?
A very good, response. I'm clear.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any other questions from your side? Of course, as Rosa already mentioned, if you have any doubts after this webinar or during fulfilling your application, feel free to contact us on the email address, and I'm sending it to you right now, so you can maybe write it down, copy paste somewhere to your inbox. And also in our community of InterConnect, there is the help desk. You can find it on chat right now, and you're always welcome to ask your questions there too. Maybe we will wait a minute longer. Maybe someone will have a question. And in the meantime, I also would like to know that as the webinar is recorded, you will receive the link to it on the email address that you gave us during the registration to this webinar. So you can always go back to it, listen to the presentation once again. And you must also know that there will be the second webinar in probably 2 weeks. It will be middle June. And you are always welcome to join it as well, and once again ask these questions that will appear. Oh, there is message from Milenko. Yes, for everyone, if it passed under your radar, there is a very good article about the
so you can see
blueprint.
Yeah, you can see that this is coming from the Commission side. It's not something that we are daydreaming. So yeah, you can see there the scope and the vision where the energy system of Europe is headed to. So there will be additional calls to piggyback on what was already developed and to extend it. So by taking a part here at this stage, you will be well equipped to actually lead some additional developments and projects in the future calls.
Thank you, Milenko. Okay, so I believe this is it. I mean, Rosa, would you like to add something, or we will close this today webinar?
Invite all of you to apply and contact with us in case they have doubts or questions. I was checking the limit of characters because I saw Alba that she's in the Rosa, no? Or Rosa, sorry, remember. Bueno, Alba, that she's in gear. I cannot see the limit of cards. I will check with our IT team, but also we will provide the application form offline, so you will have the information in both on the online platform and an offline document. Encourage you to apply, to contact us in case they have questions or doubt regarding the criteria, the application process. Read the guide for applicants, and don't wait till last moment to submit your application. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm stopping the recording right now. And once again, I said you will have it in email today or Monday. We'll see. And have a great weekend to all of you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.